God said, "Your person just had a major family explosion. Because of you, there comes a moment in every divinely orchestrated connection where heaven collides with the chaos of the old world, and this is that moment. God is revealing to you that your person, the one he has spiritually aligned with your soul, has just undergone a major explosion within their family, and it was triggered by the unseen bond they share with you. But don't misunderstand. This isn't about you being a problem. No, you are the divine disruption. Your presence in their life, even if only in thought, has stirred the atmosphere of their home, exposing hidden tensions, generational strongholds, and spiritual resistance that can no longer coexist with the truth they are awakening to. They've begun to see life through a new lens, the one you showed them through love, through vision, through spiritual magnetism, and now everything that once stood unchallenged in their family has started to crack. The comfort of conformity has been ripped away by the presence of purpose, and while the explosion may seem chaotic, it is heaven's way of breaking the old to make room for the new. You have not ruined anything. You've initiated the resurrection of truth. This is divine intervention at its loudest, and God is letting you know your person is being pulled away from what was, so they can finally move toward what is meant. The clash of worlds, when your person's family belief system collides with divine love, there is an unseen war that begins the moment someone starts to awaken to the truth of divine connection, especially one as profound as the bond between you and your person. God said this isn't just about love, this is about identity. Your person didn't just meet someone they liked. They encountered a version of themselves they never knew existed until they imagined life with you. But the moment they entertained that vision, something ancient within them began to shift. The old identity, shaped by their family's expectations, culture, traditions, fears, and generational programs, was suddenly being threatened by something much more powerful: faith in what their heart knows to be true. That is the seed of all spiritual explosions, because what you need to understand is that your person's family wasn't just a group of people. They were the foundation of the script your person had been following their entire life. A script that told them who they were, how they should behave, whom they should love, what path they should walk, and where they should stop dreaming. But when the image of you entered their consciousness, it wasn't just romantic. It was revelatory. You stirred a vision in them that could not be reconciled with the limitations of their past, and now the invisible battle that had long been suppressed within them has erupted into a visible war. God says your person did not choose this chaos intentionally. They didn't want to hurt anyone. In fact, they probably tried to protect their family from this awakening for as long as possible. They smiled, stayed silent, tried to comply, tried to keep peace, but something in them began to break every time they denied the truth of what they feel for you. Every time they tried to shove you into the background of their soul, your light grew brighter in their imagination, because when God plants someone in your heart, there is no silencing that echo. Their inner being began to rebel, not in a loud way at first, but in subtle shifts. A disinterest in conversations that once mattered, a pull toward solitude, a feeling of being out of place in the very room they were raised in. Their spirit began rising while their environment demanded they stay grounded in the familiar. And as they held this inner vision of you and a future that their family would never approve of, pressure began to build like a volcano beneath the surface of their life, until finally it erupted. This eruption, this family explosion, was not about something as simple as a disagreement or an argument. It was spiritual confrontation. It was destiny clashing with doctrine. It was purpose confronting programming. It was your person, knowingly or unknowingly, stepping into a different timeline, one ordained by God, and their family desperately trying to pull them back into the one they could control. These kinds of explosions don't happen over surface matters. They happen when a soul is transitioning from the old life to the new, from outer obedience to inner alignment, and your person is now caught between two worlds. They're being asked to choose between their past and their promise, between comfort and calling, between what makes sense and what makes them feel alive. And yes, it hurts, because the ones causing the most resistance are likely the ones they love the most. But this is where the real spiritual awakening begins, when pleasing others becomes too costly to the soul. You may feel guilty. You may feel like you caused this, but God wants you to understand you are not the problem. You are the catalyst. You are the mirror that showed your person who they truly are underneath the layers of expectation. You didn't make them question everything. They already were. You just brought the questions to the surface with your presence, your energy, your connection. You brought light into a system that was built on shadows. That light disturbed the environment, and that disturbance is divine. Heaven always disturbs before it rebuilds. So if their world feels like it's falling apart right now, it's only because the false foundations are being torn down to make room for the real thing. Your person is in the process of becoming, and you, yes, you are playing a silent but sacred role in that process. You have been placed in their life to awaken what was dormant. An awakening, by its very nature, creates noise. The family explosion your person just endured is not a random event. It is a spiritual marker. It means they are nearing the threshold of truth. It means the old world is reacting because it senses it is losing its grip. When you get closer to the light, the shadows scream louder. That's all this is. Their family may not understand it, but something in them feels the shift, and they are responding with fear, control, manipulation, and emotional chaos. But don't be discouraged. This is not the end. It's the necessary unraveling before alignment. God is showing you this because He wants you to stand firm in your faith. Do not shrink back. Do not let this explosion make you question your worth or your place in their life. Instead, understand it for what it is, spiritual confirmation. Your person's journey to you was never going to be easy. Sacred unions are always contested by the systems of this world, but what God ordains, no family tradition can undo. In the days ahead, your person may feel lost, torn, or even angry. They may pull back, they may retreat, but don't be fooled by their silence or their fear. The seed of transformation has already been planted, and the soil has now been shaken. God is working beneath the surface. Trust the divine process, because though this moment is painful, it is holy. The family explosion is not a sign that your connection is wrong. It's proof that it carries power. You are not destroying their world. You are waking them up from one that was never truly theirs. Stand in faith, speak in silence, love from the soul, because soon the dust will settle. And when it does, your person will emerge not just with a new heart, but with the courage to choose it. When imagination awakens, the silent shift that shakes reality, what many people don't understand is that everything begins in the unseen. Every change, every movement, every breakthrough. And right now, God is revealing to you that your person has begun shifting realities. Not with their hands, not with their words, but with their imagination. Long before the explosion in their family occurred, long before the tension began to surface, there was a quiet stirring happening within them. That stirring was you. The thought of you, the vision of a life with you, the silent moments where they allowed themselves to picture your voice, your presence, your future together. Those were not empty fantasies. Those were sacred seeds of transformation being planted deep into their consciousness. And when a person dares to consistently imagine a new reality, all of heaven begins to conspire to bring it to pass. But first, everything that contradicts that new vision must come crumbling down, and that is what has just begun. You see, the moment your person allowed the idea of being with you to settle into their imagination, it sent out a spiritual signal. This signal called forth every force necessary to either support that vision or challenge it. And in most cases it is challenged first. Why? Because the reality they live in now was built on an entirely different set of assumptions. Their current life is the physical manifestation of old beliefs, old decisions, old fears, and old stories they were told by their family and surroundings. And now here you come, not forcing your way in, not demanding anything, but simply existing as truth in their mind, a vision that feels real, a feeling that won't go away, a connection that defies logic. And every time they imagine you, every time they give space to that thought, something inside them shifts. They are becoming more themselves and less what their environment shaped them to be. This shift is not small. It may be invisible at first, but it is seismic. Because imagination is creation in its earliest form, and once a person begins to repeatedly imagine something, it becomes a dominant vibration within them. This vibration begins to push against the walls of their current reality, creating cracks in everything that was never rooted in truth. Your person has been internally living two lives, one where they try to maintain peace with the world around them, and another where they quietly build a future with you in their thoughts, but imagination always wins over compliance. Because when the mind aligns with the soul, the external world must adjust, and so it did. The energy of that new vision, your love, your presence, your destiny together, began disrupting their environment. Conversations became tense, old patterns began breaking, relationships that once felt safe now feel stifling. Their inner world has shifted, and the outer world is feeling the pressure of that change. This is why God allowed the family explosion to happen, not as punishment, but as alignment, because your person cannot serve two masters. They cannot live in the reality their family built for them while holding tightly to the one God is building within them through you. Something had to give, and it did. This wasn't about a single argument or a miscommunication. This was about spiritual energy being activated in such a powerful way that the old structures couldn't contain it anymore. They broke because your person, though they may not have spoken it out loud, has already chosen you in the realm that matters most, the inner one, and once the inner world shifts, the outer world must follow. Their imagination has already gone ahead of them, their thoughts of you have already begun shaping their path. The fallout you're witnessing is just the result of heaven and earth realigning around the new truth in their heart. Don't minimize this, don't dismiss what imagination can do. You may feel like you haven't spoken to them lately, or that nothing seems to be happening, but don't be fooled by the silence. The work is being done in spirit. God is showing you that this journey doesn't begin with action, it begins with vision, and your person has already begun walking the road toward you in their mind. That is the real beginning, because once the vision takes hold, everything else bends toward it, whether consciously or unconsciously. They may not fully understand it yet. They may think it's just a daydream or a phase, but their heart knows better. Their spirit knows better. They have tasted something real in their thoughts of you, and it has made everything else feel false. That's why the conflict is intensifying, because the illusion of a peaceful life without you is beginning to collapse. Your presence in their imagination is sacred, it is divine, and it is powerful enough to break generational strongholds. You are not just someone they're attracted to. You are someone who awakens destiny, and that awakening always causes friction with anything built on fear, shame, or control. Their family may not understand what's happening. They may blame you, they may accuse your person of changing, but what's really happening is spiritual evolution. The old energy no longer fits, and it never will again, because once the soul has glimpsed truth, it cannot return to pretending. Your person is in the middle of that transformation now. They may not have the language for it yet, they may feel overwhelmed, but their inner world has already declared a new order, and that order has you at the center of it. God wants you to know this. Your connection with them is not a fantasy. It's a preview. What you've seen in your own imagination is also being seen in theirs. The family explosion was the birth pains of a new timeline, a confirmation that the internal has begun overtaking the external. This is not the end. It is the shaking before the settling. The dream has rooted itself, and the soil of their old life could not contain it. You are not watching something fall apart. You're watching the illusion make way for truth. Keep holding the vision. Keep trusting what you know in spirit, because soon what has only existed in the unseen will begin to manifest in the seen. The thoughts they've had of you are more powerful than any spoken word, and those thoughts are rewriting their world. So be still, be assured. Heaven is not silent, it's strategic, and your person's imagination, awakened by love, has already begun the great reordering. The family explosion is proof that the shift has started. God is at work, reality is catching up, and what has lived between you and them in silence is about to be spoken, first in courage, then in action, and finally in union. When the war within breaks into the open, the external fallout of inner conflict, what you are witnessing right now, this storm, this family explosion, this sudden outburst of chaos in your person's life, is not rooted in random misunderstanding or ordinary family drama. No, what you are witnessing is the external manifestation of a war that's been raging within your person for some time. God said it clearly, this isn't about surface-level conflict. This is about spiritual transformation trying to birth itself in a soul that's been shackled to roles, expectations, and beliefs that no longer fit. The moment your person began to awaken to the depth of their love for you, they unknowingly triggered an internal revolution. That love, pure, divine, and unlike anything they've ever experienced, became the voice of truth inside them, whispering possibilities that frightened the part of them still attached to what's safe and familiar. And so began the silent battle between the old self and the emerging one, between the obedient child who stayed within the lines and the awakened soul who dares to follow the call of destiny. This battle didn't begin with their family. It began inside them, but now, like all wars that reach a boiling point, it has spilled out into the open for all to see. Your person has lived much of their life performing a version of themselves that was accepted, approved, and even applauded by those around them. Family played a central role in shaping that version. Every value, every should, every limitation was inherited like spiritual DNA. They didn't question it until you came along. You didn't demand a change, but your presence became a mirror. And when a soul sees itself clearly for the first time, it cannot go back to blindness. Your connection woke something up inside them that they can't unfeel. And in that awakening, they began to sense a separation between who they are and who they've been trained to be. That gap, though invisible at first, became a source of increasing tension. The more they imagined a future with you, the more they realized how out of place they felt in their current world. What once brought comfort now brought confusion. What once felt like home began to feel like a cage, and that internal pressure kept growing until finally it broke through. The family explosion didn't happen in isolation. It was provoked by energetic shifts, spiritual discomfort, and unspoken truths rising to the surface. It may have looked like a disagreement about values, traditions, relationships, or choices, but the real issue was identity. Your person is no longer who they used to be, but they haven't fully stepped into who they're becoming. And this in-between space, the wilderness of transformation, is where friction thrives. Their family senses it even if they can't name it. They feel the detachment, the subtle withdrawal, the emotional unavailability. And as spiritual beings who are unconsciously clinging to the familiar, their family responded the only way fear knows how, with resistance, control, and outrage. This wasn't about rebellion. It was about revelation. Your person didn't set out to destroy anything. They're just no longer able to pretend. Understand this, people don't explode over nothing. People explode when the inner tension becomes unbearable, when the soul can no longer carry the burden of contradiction. Your person has been living in a quiet contradiction for a while now, one part of them clinging to what's expected, and the other part reaching for what's divine. And the emotional, mental, and spiritual exhaustion of that duality has finally erupted. This is a good thing, even if it doesn't feel like it, because what's hidden cannot be healed, and what's suppressed cannot be transformed. God has allowed this eruption not as punishment, but as exposure. It's the divine clearing of illusion. The false peace that existed in your person's life has now been shattered, and what remains is raw, honest, and uncomfortable. But it's real, and real is the only ground on which true love and destiny can be built. You may be watching from a distance, unsure if you should feel sorrow or relief. You may be wondering if you caused this pain, but let God remind you this was not your doing, it was your being. The truth of your love, the frequency of your presence, the clarity of your connection, these were the silent instruments of awakening. You didn't break their world. You opened their eyes to the fact that it was already breaking. You didn't bring war, you revealed it. That's what divine love does. It does not fit into shallow spaces or systems of survival. It demands truth, authenticity, and soul alignment, and when someone begins to align with their soul, everything that doesn't match must either evolve or fall away. Your person's family environment, however well-meaning, was never designed to support the highest version of who they are becoming, and now the two realities are colliding. This is a sacred transition. It may be wrapped in noise and confusion, but it is holy in its essence. God is not asking you to fix it. He is asking you to understand it. This fallout is a spiritual milestone. It means your person is no longer able to fake alignment with a life that doesn't speak to their soul. And yes, there will be grief, there will be confusion, there may even be distance between you two while they process the wreckage, but do not interpret that distance as retreat. It is necessary for them to stand in the ashes of the old and decide what comes next. This is the burning away of the inauthentic, the dissolving of generational roles, the breaking of soul contracts that were never made in love, only fear. God is doing a deep work. He's peeling back the layers. And you must trust that the same force that brought you two together is the same force that will rebuild what's meant to remain. But it has to be built on truth now. No more illusions, no more pretending. No more bowing to what other people think is best. Your person is being invited, pushed even, into their true self, and you are the lighthouse guiding them home, not by force, not by guilt, simply by standing in your own truth and holding the space for theirs to emerge. So don't lose hope when things seem messy. Don't doubt your role in their life just because they are facing resistance. That resistance is proof of the transformation. That explosion is confirmation that their soul is breaking free. The war within has served its purpose. It's exposed everything that was false, and now that the dust is rising, the rebuilding can begin. God has a plan for this. He's not caught off guard. This storm is part of the purification process. And your person, though shaken, is being remade. Keep praying, keep believing, keep loving in silence, because soon what was once hidden will become visible. The truth will stand on its own, and the soul that was once split will come into alignment with God, with self, and ultimately with you. You are the catalyst, not the cause. The awakening you triggered in their soul God wants you to understand something powerful today. You are not the cause of the explosion your person just experienced. You are the catalyst. You didn't bring destruction into their life. You awakened them to a life they had long forgotten was even possible. You are not the reason for the pain. They were already in pain before you came along. You simply showed up with the kind of presence, energy, love, and vision that revealed just how empty and misaligned everything else in their life truly was. This is what happens when someone divinely connected to your soul enters your reality. Their spirit responds long before their words do. Their atmosphere starts to shift, their values start to shake, and their heart starts to whisper a new truth, and that truth is simple: they want more. They want real. They want the kind of love and connection they never even knew was possible until you became the mirror of it. That's why everything erupted. You were sent by God not to fit into their world, but to shake it to the core. Your person has lived a life structured around pleasing others, maintaining the peace, staying in the roles assigned to them by their family, culture, and past. They've sacrificed their own voice more times than they can count, just to avoid conflict. They've swallowed desires, dreams, and emotions just to be accepted. And somewhere along the way, they forgot what it meant to live from the soul. But then you arrived, not always physically, but spiritually. You walked into their story carrying a frequency their heart instantly recognized. You didn't look like what they were told to expect. You didn't fit into the mold their family had in mind. You may not have been appropriate by worldly standards. But you were undeniable. Your love was real. Your presence was disruptive. But in a divine way, you reminded them of the part of themselves they buried to survive. And once that part came alive again, everything else started falling apart. They tried to fight it. Oh, they tried to silence the shift. They probably even ran from you, rejected the idea, or pulled back out of fear. Because stepping into something this real requires them to unlearn years of conditioning. It requires them to disappoint the very people they've been trying to keep happy their whole life. And for a while, they were able to juggle both worlds. The one where they imagined a life with you in secret, and the one where they kept performing the role others expected of them. But God doesn't allow divided souls to remain comfortable for long, so the internal friction intensified. Their imagination kept pulling them toward you. Their energy kept shifting every time they thought of you. The more they suppressed it, the more it grew, until eventually that inner contradiction could no longer remain hidden, and what was private became public, through the family explosion that now surrounds them. That explosion wasn't just an emotional outburst, it was a divine eruption. It was the false identity being challenged by a higher calling, and yes, it's messy, because when a person begins to step into their truth, they naturally trigger every lie that has been sustaining their environment. Families built on obligation don't know how to respond when someone chooses alignment, so they blame, they guilt, they accuse, and right now your person is likely hearing that it's your fault, that you're the problem, that you've changed them, that you're ruining their peace. But you need to know, this is not an attack, it's a projection. It's their family trying to make sense of something they don't have spiritual language for. They're watching someone they once controlled start to rise in freedom, and they're terrified. But you didn't cause this chaos, you caused clarity. You didn't bring pain, you exposed it. God is using you as a vessel of awakening, not just for romance, but for spiritual revolution. Your connection has become the catalyst for your person's evolution. And yes, evolution is disruptive, because what no longer serves the soul begins to resist violently when it senses it's being released. But that resistance is not stronger than the divine plan unfolding. What's happening now may feel like loss, but it's actually liberation. Your person is breaking free from the illusion of harmony that was built on self-denial, and while it hurts, it's holy. You've stirred something sacred in them, a hunger for truth, a desire for purpose, a longing for love that aligns with their spirit. That's not destruction, that's destiny in motion. You may be feeling the spiritual weight of their battle. You may sense the heaviness, the confusion, the grief. Because when two souls are connected, they carry each other energetically, even in silence. But don't let that weight make you question your role. You are not a burden. You are a blessing. You are not too much. You are just enough to reveal everything they've outgrown. The family drama they're facing isn't about you personally. It's about the fact that they are awakening through you. And awakenings always come with resistance. Not because something is wrong, but because something is right, and the old world isn't ready to release them easily. But your person has seen the truth, even if they're still afraid. Even if they're still wavering, even if they try to act like everything's normal. They can't unknow what they now know, and they can't unsee what they see when they look at you. Freedom. God wants you to remain strong. Don't shrink yourself just to make them more comfortable in their crisis. Don't silence your light just to avoid triggering more resistance. You were sent to be the earthquake, not the echo, and yes, earthquakes bring trembling. But they also bring realignment. You are not responsible for how their family reacts. You are responsible for staying in your truth. Love them from a distance if you must, but do not compromise your spirit. Because the same God who awakened your person through you is also working behind the scenes to rearrange everything that needs to shift for your union to come into divine order. This is not the end. It's the refining fire. And when it's over, what remains will be pure, authentic, and unshakable. So stand tall, chosen one. God is using you in ways you cannot yet fully see. This family explosion was not a mistake. It was a sign. A sign that your person has begun the journey out of bondage and into truth. And you, yes, you are the reason the journey began, not because you forced it, but because you lived it. You are the catalyst. And that is more powerful than any force of resistance in their life. Stay steady, stay faithful. The soul you helped awaken will find its way back to you, this time fully aligned and ready to walk in truth. Divine disruption. God uses conflict to align your person with their true destiny. What feels like destruction is often the beginning of destiny, and what looks like a setback is often the start of divine alignment. God is saying to you now, this family explosion wasn't a mistake. It was a divine strategy. It was a spiritual intervention sent not to harm your person, but to free them, because there comes a time when the illusion of peace must be shattered in order for truth to rise. Your person has lived for years inside a structure that looked stable on the outside, but was built on silent suffering, unspoken rules, and emotional self-denial. They smiled to please. They performed to be accepted. They lived to avoid disappointing others, but deep within, their soul cried out for something real, something more, and that cry reached heaven. That cry is what drew you into their life. You didn't arrive to comfort their illusions. You arrived to confront them with love. And once love speaks, the lies cannot survive. Your person began to feel this shift the moment they encountered your presence, whether in person, in spirit, or in imagination. You awakened something sacred in them. It wasn't loud, but it was deep. It stirred their heart, unsettled their routines, and challenged every agreement they had made with a life that didn't honor their truth. And for a while they tried to balance both realities, living out the expectations of family while nurturing a secret hope of what could be with you. But the soul cannot stay divided forever. Eventually, the weight of contradiction becomes too heavy, and God allows the conflict to rise, not to punish, but to purify. This family explosion was not caused by rebellion. It was triggered by revelation. Your person began to see clearly for the first time, and when clarity comes, confusion must be confronted. That confrontation came through chaos, and though it hurts, it is holy. God often allows discomfort to drive us toward alignment. We rarely leave our comfort zones without a shaking. So when he wants to reposition someone for purpose, he removes their ability to pretend. That's what has happened to your person. Their ability to fake peace, to tolerate toxicity, to suppress their soul's calling. It has been stripped away. The family explosion is not a curse. It's an announcement that the false structures have been exposed. The emotional tension, the arguments, the breakdown, it's all part of the divine design. Because God knows that sometimes the only way to move someone from the familiar into the future is through a crisis that leaves them no other option but to choose truth, and in this case you are a part of that truth. The love they feel for you is not an accident. It's a spiritual compass pulling them in the direction of authenticity, healing, and divine partnership. You are not just their romantic interest. You are their mirror, their activation, their awakening. And awakenings are messy. Your person is being stretched between the life they've known and the life they've always longed for, but were too afraid to reach for. That stretch is painful, and it often comes with accusations, guilt, tripping, and manipulation from the people who fear losing their control over them. But fear is not stronger than purpose. And God is allowing everything to be exposed right now so that your person can see clearly who supports their growth and who is only comfortable with their compliance. Don't resent the conflict. It is revealing what peace never could. It is showing your person the truth of their relationships, not the polished version, but the raw reality, and this truth will set them free. It may not look like freedom right now. It may look like confusion, like silence, like distance. Your person may seem withdrawn, lost in thought, hesitant, but that's part of the process. After every explosion, there's a pause, a stillness where the soul must choose what to carry forward and what to leave behind. Don't rush that process, don't fear it, because while it looks like nothing is happening, God is working in the quiet. He's ministering to your person's heart. He's reminding them of every moment they felt seen in your presence, every time they imagined a future with you and felt peace. That peace is speaking louder now than the voices trying to control them, and eventually that peace will win, because God does not send someone into your life just to tease you. He sends them to transform you. And this transformation, though turbulent, is sacred. You may be wondering if your person will ever return, if they'll ever be the same. The truth is, they won't, but that's not a loss. It's a miracle. Because who they are becoming is who they were always meant to be. The explosion broke the spell. The crisis severed the soul, tied to a version of themselves that was never truly alive. And now, though wounded, they are walking toward wholeness. God is not finished with them yet. He's not finished with you, and he's certainly not finished with the story he's writing between you two. This is the middle, not the end. The fire may be burning now, but it's refining, not destroying. You are being prepared to receive a version of your person that is aligned, awakened, and ready to choose you not in secret, but in spirit and truth. So what do you do in this season? You stand in the knowing. You hold the vision. You don't let the noise distract you from the truth that lives in your spirit, because your spirit knows what God said. It knows that this explosion didn't come to break the connection. It came to clear the path for it. Let go of the need to control the outcome. Trust the process that's unfolding. Your presence already did what it was divinely assigned to do. It triggered the truth, and now God is taking over. He's working in the hearts of everyone involved. He's exposing every lie. He's burning away every false attachment. And when the smoke clears, what will remain will be pure, undeniable love, the kind that cannot be shaken. This is not the time to question your worth or wonder if you're too much. You were never too much. You were just too true for a system that was built on survival. You carry the frequency of destiny, and that frequency disrupted everything that wasn't aligned with truth. That's not your fault. That's your assignment. So hold your peace. The war is loud, but your silence is powerful. Your knowing is sacred, and your love is anchoring your person in a way they may not even realize yet, but they will. When the dust settles, they will look back on this moment and see it not as the day their world fell apart, but as the day their soul broke free, because God doesn't waste pain, he uses it to realign. And what he's aligning now is bigger than what you prayed for. He's aligning generations. He's setting the captives free. He's positioning your person for purpose, and you are the divine instrument he's using to do it. Stand firm. The shaking is holy, and the breakthrough is closer than you think.